Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's your boy Soso, and welcome back to the channel. Make sure you're hitting that like, comment, and subscribe button, and more importantly, turn on those notifications. That way, you guys get notified when we drop hits like this. This week on OnlyFans, it's week 4, and the Dolphins finally get a victory on Monday Night Football against the Jets, but it came at a big cost. It's time to take a ride, y'all. Let's go!
Fans up in the building, rep the gear from toe to ceiling. 305 stays on the brim, by 95 we popping wheelies. On the way out to the rock, time to see the trio fly. OBJ, Tyreek, and Waddle, speed and swag solidifies. Tours Babby in the pocket, got my D coordinating. With the Weaver operating, on the sideline formulating. Strategizing for that dub, let's get A-Train on the track. Chubbs and Ramsey, Phillips healthy, boy, we bout to crack some backs. Time to change the narrative, F off with all due respect. Criticism at its finest, break the cycle down the stretch. Top dog offense in the league, let's keep it going postseason. Bring that heat in cold weather, that's a Dade County reason. OnlyFans, presented by Sports with Soso. Presented by Sports with
Soso. Yeah, you're right. We can finally laugh about it, dog, because it's a victory episode, right? We haven't had one this season yet, but the Dolphins did beat the Jets at home on Monday Night Football, and man, we really needed that dub, Joel.
In a bad way, dude. In a real bad way, we needed the victory. I mean, especially, dude, so many things. You know, we hadn't won a game yet. We were at home, Monday Night Football against the rival Jets. We needed that. We needed it real bad. I'm glad the boys got it done.
Yeah, you know what it reminds me of like that scene in a movie where the guy's crossing the desert and he has like the thing covering his eyes and the vultures start to circle him like, maybe not right now, but further down the line we'll catch up to you, right? It felt like that's where the Dolphins were at, right? And McDaniels and Greer and company. But fortunately, right, they came out strong and they played a hell of a game. And more importantly, defensively, right? I want to start there because, you know, as the poll is going to show us later, not a lot of people gave the Dolphins defense a lot of credit in the victory for this game. But
it's kind of wild. It's kind of
wild, right? But I think whenever you have a defensive game, right, where you come away with 3 takeaways and you limit a team to 21 points, man, I feel like that's job complete. You know what I mean? It's not an excellent job, right? Because a shutout is obviously what you're aiming for, but anytime you can do that, that's amazing. But the performance overall, we got to the quarterback, we made takeaways, we tackled well, we made stops when it counted. Like, there were a lot of things that the defense did this game, Joel, that I think really impact the outcome of the game, right? And obviously the offense always gets the shine, but the defense, man, we've been banging on them for a minute. They played well.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's get right into this game. You know, the recap for it, we come out the gates, we put together a nice drive, go the length of the field essentially, and we're not able to get a touchdown, but we do walk away with points. We go up early, we take the early lead with the field goal, and then the Jets, they actually answer back with a pretty impressive drive of their own. Justin Fields looked pretty good. They were moving the ball, getting it down the field, and they were in scoring range. They were literally running the ball in, about to run the ball into the end zone. And our rookie, I believe, is Jack Jones is a rookie, right?
Yeah.
I forget what round we got him in this year, but we drafted him earlier this year, and this guy hit the most perfect peanut punch on that ball to get it out, to knock it loose, and Minkah Fitzpatrick landed on it. And we get our first turnover of the game. And not only do we get our first turnover, but the offense that was looking a lot better in that game against Buffalo, even though we didn't win, the whole team looked a lot better. We talked about that, but the offense looked a little bit more fluid, all the way down to that mistake that Tua made with the interception that cost us the game. But before that, they all looked pretty good. And here we go. You know, we get the ball back. We put together a great drive. We put points on the board, you know, and now the Dolphins are up 10-0, but that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the defense making an outstanding play at the goal line, preventing a touchdown and getting us the ball.
Yeah, and Jack Jones, he wasn't a draft pick, but that's one of the off-season signings that we think. I think we got him from the Raiders because he was a starter for the Raiders, and we expected him to come in and produce, not again and come and say, hey, create turnovers, right? But be in the play, right? And Jack Jones has been one of the few guys on that defense that has been consistent throughout the 4 weeks. And then it kind of reaches its peak when he gets the punch out, like you said. And again, it was very timely. You talk about timely. We needed that because the Dolphins were literally on the edge of breaking, right? Because once you give up that first score on their first drive, your defense broke, right? They were right there about to break. We hadn't seen a takeaway all season long, and then boom, it comes out at that perfect time, which I think really springboarded the rest of the team to say, "Hey, let's do this. We got the crowd behind us. Let's go." Right?
You were there.
And
You were there in attendance. What was the energy
yeah,
like when that happened?
the energy was through the roof, bro, because everybody was waiting for it, right? And that's the thing that all Dolphins fans were waiting for, like to see the team do something really explosive, really cool, right? And it fed into the offense because you got to remember where they started that second drive. They started that second drive on their own second yard line, right? And then they come out and move the ball completely down the field, and then ultimately get a touchdown to Waller, which is awesome. But again, the energy was there provided because something good happened from the defense that we weren't expecting. Right? Everybody was expecting them to score. We came away with the takeaway. Boom. Now all that extra momentum is on that side, and the offense took off with it. I mean, we mentioned I mentioned Waller there, and brother, you talk about a guy who really exceeded expectations, right? For making his first NFL, debut since a year and a half, damn near 2 years. Comes in, hasn't
Since
played
he
a
retired?
preseason game, right? Since he retired, hasn't played a game, didn't play in training camp, barely practiced. Like this dude, expectations were through the roof when we got him, and then the season started, and nothing was really shaking with him. People were even wondering if he was going to play. And as the poll shows, you know what I mean? Like, this dude was unanimously the MVP, most valuable fin of the game. The payout for him having 2 touchdowns was like plus 10,000. I don't think anybody in South Florida had Waller with with 2 touchdowns, but the fact that he came in and had that performance in that game shows what this offense was missing. Right, it was missing a offensive target in the tight end position that can get down the field, stretch the defense, and ultimately make plays. And I'm happy that he did it because, further down the line as the game was going, right? And I don't really want to focus too much on the score, but we're driving, we're moving the ball, things are feeling good. Tyreek Hill goes down on a play by himself. And all that energy
Whoa,
that I
what do
was
you
talking.
mean on a play by himself? What do you mean by that?
Well, like it wasn't a contact, like it's not like the
Yeah, it
guy
was.
wrapped him up. No. What
He
I'm saying is like,
he definitely got wrapped up. He grabbed his leg all the way to the end of the tackle and everything.
yeah, but look at it again. I was talking to somebody about it this morning. If you look, the way that his foot is planted and the way that he's like moving, rotating his body, right? Because he's trying to make the football move. It doesn't help that he was in that position when the guy was already tackling him. You get what I mean? It doesn't help that he was in that position. But he goes down, right? And it looks nasty immediately, right? And that energy that we were building up throughout the game, having a good game against a divisional opponent, right? On NFL, prime time, gets completely sucked out. Because now everybody's question is what happens with the offense? How do we move the ball? What's going on next? And I think that's when McDaniels realized I have to do a better job right now, immediately, of game planning this offense and how we move forward. Because we just lost our biggest threat, right? As far as down the field, that means that automatically teams are going to move forward, and McDaniels has to try things, or had to try things, right, to spring the rest of the players and get open. And I think that he did a hell of a job of calling the game the rest of the way. Now, maybe it got a little bit too conservative, right, with running the ball after we had gone up and we were playing that game in the fourth quarter. But you got to remember, everything's going to change when you lose one of your best players, right, and arguably your best player on offense. That Tyreek Hill injury is going to cripple us for the rest of the season, without a doubt. But I really do have to credit McDaniel for not allowing that to take away from what he can do in the rest of the game.
Interesting. I have a whole different take on that. I want to get into that, but before we do, let's go back. I already have it queued up here. I want to see.
Oh, the touchdown.
Yeah, well, no, not the touchdown. This is the injury where
Mm,
you said that he didn't really get wrapped up. You said he was by himself getting hurt. So Tua throws it out to him. Let's stop right here. He's covered. There's a guy on him.
right.
Okay, makes the catch. The first contact is the guy landing on him. Is
Yes.
grabbing his leg and landing on him. So
Well,
I refuse to believe that this injury didn't occur
go
because
back half a
of this
second.
guy.
Go
Let's go
back
back
half a second
half a second.
where he establishes his foot position before that, like right when he makes the catch and he's taking those first two steps. Boom. See, right there, he's already at a disadvantaged position because he's facing this way, and the guy's coming from behind him. So he's not in front of the guy. He's not able to brace himself. He's not able to do any of that. He's in a
Yeah,
very vulnerable position right here.
I disagree, bro. I think he's making the grab, and what I'm getting at is look at this right here. He makes the tackle already. They're out of bounds, but he's still grabbing Reek's leg, dog. Look, and then I mean, oh god, I hate to see that. Everybody hates to see that. Let's
For
just get that
sure.
off the screen. I think we've all seen enough
I
of that.
just don't think that it was
But
like something that the force that was enough force to dislocate a knee and tear an ACL. I don't think it was that much force.
I don't know, man. I'm not a doctor, so I can't
Yeah.
comment or speculate. But to say that it happened by
And
himself,
then
almost alluding to like a non-contact injury, that's a little brazen. But going back to it with Tyreek, I don't know, man. I think obviously, I know what the speed demon brings to our offense. I know how reliable he is. Third down, we need to get to the chains or whatever. He's going to make a play. He even had a play in this game where he ran it back in classic Tyreek fashion and kind of like whipped around and didn't really get much more positive yardage, but he put on a show for the extra 2-3 yards that he really got, and it was nice to see that. But I think that we're going to be just fine. You know what I mean? I think that they've been priming Waddle. There's been talks of Waddle being the wide receiver one after the comments that Tyreek made last year, where he stands with the locker room, with Tua and his chemistry with Tua and all that stuff. I think that having Waller having this kind of game is going to have that confidence come back for Tua, what he's missing in Jonnu Smith. I think Waddle steps up now as a wide receiver one. I think Malik Washington, who we've seen highlights and glimpses of, now gets to mirror Waddle and do some good stuff. And it's going to be a next man up kind of approach. We're 1-3. You know what I mean? We still have, a lot to fight for and play for. These guys have a lot to fight for and play for, whether it's trying to salvage the season or trying to salvage their career and put on some, tape to potentially get a trade before the deadline or maybe next year or lo que sea. But I think we're going to be just fine without Tyreek. The odd thing I found, though, dog, was him leaving. You know what I mean? I don't know why he was celebrating so hard with his excitement leaving the field. I mean, I don't know if it was a matter of like, okay, great, I'm healthy, I'm able to leave and all that. Maybe he was showing gratitude, but it kind of looked like he was happy that his season was over and he doesn't have to deal with Tua and the Dolphins anymore.
I mean, brother, I don't think it's that, but it makes for a great meme, right? And we saw it all day. But the only thing that I can think of is that he's trying in that specific moment not to worry his family, right? Like, hey, I'm good. Don't sweat it. This is a setback. We're going to get through this. And he's trying to keep himself as positive as he can. I seriously doubt that in that moment that he injured himself, right? And he knew that the season was over. He was like, man, I'm happy to be away from Tua. Because guess what? Tua ain't going nowhere. You and I both know that, right? That's one thing. But it does bring up an interesting topic about Hill, right? Like, this is a very tough injury for a guy who's 31 years old to recover from, right? We see it all the time. Dudes come back from the ACL, right? And that's what he has. But he's 31 and his thing is speed. How do you regain that explosiveness? Obviously, we know that it's hard for you to be the same like you were before, but you're going to have to work, and it's going to take time to get back to that level. I'm not saying that he's not up for it, but where does that leave us, right? The Dolphins. A lot of people were saying it might be his last game as a Dolphins, right? As a Dolphin. And that's strictly because of, again, the timing of the injury, the amount of the recovery that he's going to have to, really go through, and also the contract, right? Like, his contract is a big hit on the salary. If this is a dude who's not going to be able to produce for you for the next year and a half at the very earliest, then you really have to strongly consider moving on from that guy, right? And not absorbing that contract hit. It sucks that his potential Miami career ends in that form, right? But we know that it was going to end sooner than later. We all just didn't want to see it in this form or fashion. Right?
No, nobody does. Nobody does, man. Especially
and
that
this,
bad of an injury.
Hell no, right?
dislocated his knee. He tore all his ligaments in their ACL and
Yeah,
everything. He
yeah.
had surgery
And
the next day.
apparently, Rosenhaus, his agent, came out today and said that it was a very clean tear, like very clean. The doctors were extremely surprised, right? And knowing again how strong he is, especially in like his legs, I can't foresee him not coming back. He's definitely gonna come back. But where does that leave us, right? We
Yeah.
got things to do, things to consider, and he may not be here for the future, because again, his age, the position he plays, all this stuff. But where I do see like an immediate impact is that it's gonna have on Tua, right? You mentioned the guys that have to step up. I really like how Malik Washington played, right? And obviously, coach is getting him involved. I like that. We've seen the emergence of Waller and his abilities, right? What he can do in this offense. But I think that it is gonna hinder us from being too competitive in games, right? Where we're not able to score as much, right? We're gonna see Tua probably spreading the ball a lot more now. We're hardly gonna have 100-yard plus wide receivers in a game. The man threw for 177 yards against a questionable defense. I don't know how much better it can get. But that's the reality of where we're at with Tua right now, right? We know that he just lost his magician, so expecting big numbers out of him moving on this season is not realistic, right? So we have to expect that this offense is going to be marginalized because of Hill's injury. I don't know. Maybe it could blow up, right? We're playing Carolina next week. Um, it's going to be a quote unquote easy game, but they got everything to lose. I mean, everything to gain, just like we do, right? We're both what? They're 0-4, we're 1-3. Like they're trying to figure out things over there. And is Bryce Young the quarterback? Who do we keep? Who do we not keep? Like there's a lot of things going on there too. And those guys are desperate for a win, right?
I love
Just like we were.
I love how even when we win and Tua doesn't make any mistakes and gets the W, throws for 2 touchdowns, you still throw a little jab at him, talking about how we should have done more against this Jets defense. But one of the things I do want to know, yeah, he only threw 25 times. That might be the remedy. We've talked about it plenty of times, you and I on this
Yeah,
show. We
yeah.
don't need Tua throwing the ball 40, 50 times a game. We need a more balanced approach to the game. And I think we saw that here. We saw Achane put up 20 carries, almost have 100 yards on the ground, and we had 31 carries as a team.
Yeah. No,
Compared to the 25 throws. So
but this is my concern, right? Because at least with him stretching the field, that opens up other stuff. Now he's not there. It closes a lot of stuff, right? So we're gonna see this, like I said, we're gonna see this offense take a step back. Now, should it become more run reliant? Absolutely. Why? Because the opposite of that is having Tua throw more passes, right, than 25, and have them all be dinks and dunks. And he missed a couple of easy dinks and dunks in that Monday night game. He had Waddle one time, for the touchdown in the first quarter. Ball got tipped, but he could have made that throw. There was another one on the second drive where he had him on the left-hand side on the left hash, and he missed a wide open Waddle. The throw that he threw to Tyreek Hill on the right-hand side before he got injured was off as well. So, like, there were throws that you expect Tua to hit, and he wasn't hitting.
Especially
right?
the ones where he's rolling out to his right, being a lefty, like we see righties make those throws across their body all the time. It's like not like across your body that way, but like you're rolling out this way, right? And you can make that pass. And dude, there was one in particular where he was rolling out right, and it was a duck. It didn't even get there. Like it didn't
Hit
even have
the
a
floor.
chance. Yeah,
And
it was terrible. That's
and
the
those are
stuff
the
that he
and
needs
those
to
are the
tighten up.
things. Those are the things, right, that we're gonna see more of. Not necessarily the short throws, right? That's not what I'm saying. But what, like, those are gonna have to be the routes over and over and over again. So his accuracy is really gonna have to be in the high 80s, low 90s for him to be as effective as throwing a deep ball every now and then, right?
I
But
think
let's
what it
see.
comes down to is McDaniels now. I think now McDaniels having, like you said, one of his biggest pieces is gone now. One of our biggest pieces, most explosive pieces on offense is gone. How do you rework the dynamic to still fit your playbook? But, who can replace Tyreek Hill? You know what I'm saying? Like, does Waddle have that? Does Waddle step in perfectly to that? Then who steps into the Waddle role? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. But, I mean, I guess this next one is kind of like a little tuner before we take on a heftier opponent who's slipping my mind right now. But
Chargers after
we play the Chargers right after
at home.
the Panthers, so we won't get ahead of
Yeah.
ourselves. But yeah, this will be a nice little tune-up, little road game against Carolina. Like you said, they want it. It's any given Sunday, so we can't sleep either. This is a game that the Dolphins historically will probably lose. Let's
On the
see if
road.
yeah, let's see if they can come out here and keep the momentum going. McDaniels, you're doing good things through 2 games. You know what I mean? Let's see what you do now that Tyreek is gone. How do you continue to rework and evolve that offense?
And look, if we're talking about worst case scenarios, right? We were talking about the vultures circling McDaniels in the beginning of the episode. But this is a perfect opportunity for him to cement his position as a head coach, right? Go out there and show that you can put a game plan together. You can get results. You can gain yardage. You can move the football when even everything isn't going your way, right? And that might say a lot about you as far as on-field performances and what you're doing there to game plan that, right? That might say a lot about you towards the end of the season, right? When it's time to make those hard decisions, right? Because maybe the GM says, you know what, McDaniels, he's not that bad. He's not the issue. It's this guy,
Yeah.
right? So this is an opportunity for him to again come out, show that you can showcase your skills as a coordinator, offensive coordinator, with what you have while getting results against bad teams. Am I expecting you to go out there and beat the Chargers at home in 2 weeks? Probably not, right? But I can expect a good performance against this team. I'm not guaranteeing a victory or nothing like that, but go out there and make us look good. Now, if Tua's shitting the bed and throwing it every other way, then that's on Tua, right? But if McDaniels comes with the game plan and says, all right, be effective, Tua, keep it short, everything under 20 yards, boom, 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 we'll kill the clock and move the chains, that'll be impressive to me. And that's what I hope he does on Sunday. I hope he doesn't go out there like trying to do too many new things or like trying to do trick plays and shit. Like, let's get to the basics. Let's play your style of football, which should be enough to beat the Panthers.
I hope so, man. I hope so. It'd be nice if we start the season 0-3. The only way to get back in it as a fan is if they go 3-0. So if we do manage to beat the Panthers this Sunday, then it faces us with a tall task for that third win in a row against the Chargers. But for right now, let's just focus on the Panthers right now. Let's get this victory. Take it one day at a time.
Yeah, and I think for us, the fans, right? Like you mentioned it, the main thing for us in these last 2 games, we've seen the competitive Dolphins, right? That's what we've seen, not only in person, but we've seen it on the TV.
And that's what we want.
Competitive. That's right now. That's all we can ask for because we know that this team has a lot of limitations, right? So go out there and be competitive. And if you're competitive, really competitive against this Carolina team, you guys are going to be able to get that victory, just like you did against the Jets, because we were very competitive in that game. I'm telling you, the effort was there. The guys were united. Like guys were like hyping each other up, picking each other up after tackles. Like the vibe is there. They just need to continue to manifest it and work on it, man. That doesn't mean that we're gonna rip off 3-4 games in a row, folks. Let's tender the expectations. Like Joel mentioned, go week by week, right? And hope that what we get on a weekly basis are good performances. They don't have to be all great, but let's get good performances and we can go from there. Because that's what I'm expecting, man. Especially that our game is off and we got this whole week again to get prepared for the Chargers. Like we got a lot that we can do, man.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think that there's a
I don't know
lot
why.
of work to be done. I think McDaniel's has a lot of work to do. But we'll see, Doug. I'm gonna be tuning in, so just give me something good to watch for a little while.
Absolutely, bro. We're gonna be tuning in, and of course, we're gonna continue to bring you guys OnlyFans after every single game. Sometimes we take a little bit longer because we need to digest information, like the Tyreek Hill injury, right, and what that entailed. Hopefully, it's not all bad news, and we wish him a speedy recovery, and hopefully, he's able to stay as a Dolphin in the future for cheaper.
One thing before we wrap up and we get out of here, we know what the public said on the Instagram. They voted on Darren Waller as their most valuable
MVP.
Fin. Devon Achane was a close second. McDaniel was third. I was curious, is that where your sentiments lie too? Darren Waller were unanimous MVP for this game, this first victory of the season.
I honestly want to say it was McDaniels, right? I honestly felt like the MVP of that game should have been McDaniels because of the game plan that he came out and they executed it. It was the first time that that's happened all season. They executed what they needed to do, okay? And that put us in a position to win. everything else flow through that. Second, I would say it is Waller, right? Because he would be the most unexpected of the three. And Achan's just been consistent every single week, bro. I think he has a touchdown in every single game this year. So
I voted Achan there, and that was biased because of that, because if I know what he's been doing and he hasn't been
yeah,
able to get any credit because we haven't been winning. And then
yeah,
now we finally won. He did get in. He had a nice touchdown. Like, the kid continues to run hard.
he's
He
a
looks
beast,
good,
bro.
when he gets the ball. A lot of catches, a lot of targets. Like, he's very, multifaceted and dynamic. So I that's why I voted that way. But if you're just looking at this game alone, you look at the highlight of the game, it was that Darren Waller touchdown. That was a very impressive touchdown to go up there and grab it, and then land with 2 feet inbounds and possession of the ball. I mean, it was a highlight all around. So
Right.
that's why I give him the nod. But I'm very happy with McDaniels. I like what he's doing these last couple of weeks. So I'm rooting for him.
Me too, bro. Me too. Let's see what he has, right? Sunday against Carolina, 1 o'clock. A very winnable game. Just got to go out there and compete like you want to win the game. And I think that everything else falls in line after that. We saw it because even Tua didn't have any turnovers. So it could happen. It could happen. But like I said earlier, we're going to continue to bring you guys these episodes every single Dolphins game. We try to digest as much information as possible. That way we're as accurate as possible whenever we're bringing you our thoughts and opinions on these Dolphins games. So continue to bear with us. Things are going to get better with the Dolphins. I promise you that. The competitive edge is rising, man. It's rising. But for Joel and I, you guys know what you got to do. You got to tell a friend.
To tell a friend.
To tell another friend.
To tell everybody that they know.
To tell everybody they know about OnlyFans, baby. You see it right here. Shout out to Empire. We coming through, baby. Till next Sunday. Peace.